If you have legal questions, you can contact me, the Real Life Lawyer, right here on this YouTube channel. Make sure that you send your comments, you DM your comments, and then hopefully these guys will let me sit back on this couch and I'll answer a few of them. We won't be able to answer all of them, but we'll do what we can, and we'll try to give you a overview, a general overview, because every state has different laws.
Real life, real life. If that ain't real life,
It ain't real life. Just ain't real life street stars. You know what time it is. All right, so let's move past the YSL case. We're gonna see where that goes. We're gonna react to that all day as if it keeps giving us content. But I do want to take a moment and again, I don't know if you are versed in this, but I did want to speak to you about it and give me your thoughts. You know, just in general. And I don't know if I know you say you don't do family, but I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions. Just coming out of Houston. First and foremost, I want to start by saying, rest in peace to B King. We lost a Texas legend.
Yes, we did.
It's very sudden. 39 years old. Something very tragic, very random. It's almost again. Normally, it's a black man dying. They think it's a crime. I believe they were talking about, oh, he got shot. No, it's literally something that was related to health. And we lost him, but it did bring up the question in which we wanted a real life lawyer response to, as far as an estate. B King himself, as long as he's been in the industry, he became prominent in the industry in the past, let's just say 2-3 years,
right? To
where he was rising and he even became independent, to where he isn't under a label. He got out of his label deal, and now he just dropped, I believe, 2 albums. And where now sales go up and it goes, it goes a little crazy. So I'm gonna ask you in a sense that I'm just curious, and it's gonna help other artists hopefully as well. He has 2 children that he's leaving behind, his daughters. He had a girlfriend that he, of course, has. His mother, of course, I believe she passed away, and again, rest in peace to his mother. I don't know the status of his father or anything like that, but when it comes to an estate, and you have nothing in writing, how does the estate go if you're no longer here to say where it goes?
I'm gonna have to go back to law school. And so typically in an estate or someone who dies intestate, it goes children equally. And so his daughters, the court will most likely issue a guardian ad litem, which is an attorney who will oversee the affairs of his estate. And then from there, any proceeds will be split equally amongst the children. And so it's children first in that regard, especially if you're not married. If you're married, circumstances are a little bit different, but typically it goes to the children first equally.
If you have a fiance, do they have any rights? So it has to be.
It's not legal.
Yeah, it has to be on paper. Yeah, you can't just say you can have 12 fiancés out there.
Right, it's not legal.
If you have no children, normally where does an estate fall if parents are gone and it literally you have no kids, but let's say you have brothers, sisters, cousins.
Then in that regard, it basically goes down. If I remember correctly, it goes down your family tree, right? With your wife being an equal partner, because typically what happened is if he was married and he had children and those children were not the children of his wife, then it would be split. The wife would get half, and then the children would get half that they would split. If there's no wife, there's no children, and there's no parents, then it may drop and go down to his siblings. And so forth and so on.
Okay. With that being said,
why are you making me go back to law school?
No, because some people have these questions. I want to get. This is for artists because sometimes they come into money where they don't have their affairs in order, and I want to. We want to help people get their affairs in order. How important is it a will is the only thing that someone would have to write, or is there other things that other documents you could prep for if something was to happen, or if you're incapable of making decisions, that this document will say what happens next? Is the only thing you could write is a will to say, hey, this is going to go here or there?
No, you can set up things like trust.
Yes.
You should always have power of attorney, and that should always rest with someone that you trust. Because what if you're incapacitated but you're not dead? Right? What if you're just unable to wake up, but you're not brain dead, so you're still living, right? And so, one of the things you should always do, and if you have all that, I remember the first time I thought about that when I actually started having some things, right? I was getting on an airplane and the plane dropped like 100 feet. And so I got on my laptop and basically typed out a will, sent it to 2 different or 3 different people, told them to respond back to me while I'm on the plane, and used them as witnesses, took their response emails, that email, and then emailed that to my sister.
And is that official? It's
In
the ghetto.
In my mindset at that particular point, because typically with a will, you basically have to leave instructions in the state of Texas, right? And it has to be witnessed and usually notarized by two individuals. And so what I was doing was setting a breadcrumb for the courts that if anything ever happened to me, basically the notary was the internet, the email. The fact that it came from my email account was evidence that I wrote it. And the time in which it was done, I was still alive, still in my right mind, under my control, and then emailed it to individuals who read it and responded back that they read it.
So I mean, you're a lawyer, I'm not, this is all hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
If that plane would have dropped 30,000 more feet, I don't know how valid that would have been.
It would,
because someone else could have had your laptop and got to writing.
So, and I get what you're saying, but in my communication and how I wrote it, it would have been very difficult for someone to assume.
They would have died too.
Yeah, like you're right.
So they wouldn't have known.
Oh, you got my social.
To assume that it was somebody else. And this is, I'm old, man. I'm 51.
You look great, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah, you shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
You should have said 32. And they would have been
good,
like,
man. As a black man living in this country and coming from the communities that we come from, I take my years.
For real.
I take my years. I need 30, 40 more.
Yeah, so, man. Yeah,
man. Give me mine.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that.
Okay. So speaking on wills, as far as let's say there is an artist out there who is under contract through the label.
Mm-hmm.
Does the label, based on the contract of whatever the record sales is, do they have say so over like likenesses? Like can they redo things and make things into their favor based on let's say a simple contract of a record deal? Just there's a lot of things in the writings of those things that gets a little crazy, but how much power do they have over the money that comes in for the rest of forever, basically? Sometimes,
man, I've negotiated probably about 5 record deal labels or record deals. Not a big fan. Not a big fan. Language in those deals are such that you're a slave.
Yes.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
I had an artist and she was flourishing. And I told her, I said, look, I don't know about this, but she didn't want to push back because she didn't want to lose this opportunity. But they owned her likeness. Like she couldn't do a commercial without someone else receiving a portion of those proceeds.
That is wild.
And it is. And it was just absolutely crazy. You had an artist that if they wanted to come on here and speak with you guys about politics, and you guys were paying her $100, they get 60. You know what I'm saying? If you bought her a 2-piece, they get a drumstick and half the biscuit.
Oh man, come on, man.
Or if that gumbo, that delicious gumbo we had.
Oh yeah, shout out E5.
Yeah. Shout out to my man.
Yeah.
They get the gumbo and you get the rice. Those deals, man, are such that, going back to your question, I don't know what happens to the family in that regard, because the family is only eligible to get whatever you were going to get.
That's real. When it comes to a record deal, because they do try to hide all that stuff in there, for up and coming entertainment lawyers, if you were to, and again, I don't know how versed you are in entertainment record deals and things like that, but how well do those need to be read and reread to make sure because sometimes they slip things in there like for future things that ain't even here yet, that they may know about, that you don't know what it's called yet, as like, should they read it, like multiple lawyers read it? Like, should it be like, hey man, take this to your team and read it, versus one guy sitting down and trying to read a 20-page contract?
So if you're not a reader, ask them to give it to you in a Word format, right? Pull it up on your laptop, and all laptops at this point, let your laptop read it to you. Listen to it a couple of times, give it to a lawyer, and then on those things that you have questions about, highlight them and have that lawyer explain those things to you. You don't ever want to sign an agreement of that nature without signing. I told you guys before that, I'm very political, right? In the sense of legislation. Arbitration clauses, they suck. And so I'm with organizations that fight against arbitration clauses, because those clauses hurt individuals. If you're two individuals and it's an arbitration clause, I'm pretty cool with that. But arbitration clauses are, in my viewpoint, are bad, because you think about it. How many people are you going to sue because your car, it was a car that was purchased and that car has a bad engine?
The lemon law.
Right.
I'm gonna sue the guy. I'm gonna sue as many people as I can.
No, but what I'm saying is, you're going to have one case. The person or the manufacturer of that car is going to have thousands of cases. If I'm an arbitrator and I want to make money, who do you think I'm more likely to appease?
The thousands of cases, yeah. Run it up.
Right?
Run it up.
So my thing is, 12 hours, I'm billing for my 12 hours. I already know what I'm going to say. Not for you. Judgment, not for you. Judgment, not for you. I'm going against the individual. Right? They're not impartial. And so, we fought to keep arbitration out of employment contracts. They have no place there. And so we're still fighting against other arbitration clauses and other things, but things like that are key. And so, man, Joker, you are taking me to law school.
Yeah, and we're gonna stay there for a second. Wait a minute, because and again, to speak back to B King, his children, and guardianship,
right.
Financial guardianship, whoever will, let's say until they come of age, which is normally 18, let's say in the state of Texas. As more money comes in, it's poured into his estate. How does it work as, let's just, for example, his daughters will say, we need certain financial things, but as more money comes in, we want our lives to be a little better. So we need more to come in. So I want, let's say, a bigger allowance, or I want to be able to, do they have say-so? Do children at young adolescence age have say-so on how much a financial guardianship can give to them to do certain things? Like, I want to do I want to have a sweet 16 that my father would have made sure was immaculate. I need this, because I think Wendy Williams had the same situation happen with her son, who wanted a 16-year-old party, that a lot of money. That's why they even changed up her guardianship, depending on, he's saying this is what my mom would have wanted for me, and his guardianship saying no. So please, because I don't know how financial guardianships work in that matter.
You're talking about kind of two different things, right?
Yeah. Hit one or the other.
Yeah, and so, well, they're the same thing, but different scenarios. In one situation, the moms are probably still alive. And so at that point, when you're going to deal with the courts and set up the guardian ad litem situation, you want to interview the guardian ad litem as well. And if you don't feel this is someone that you can have a working relationship with, who's going to advocate for the best interest of your child, you can make that argument in hopes to get one appointed. One of the other things that you can do is you can potentially go to an institution, a banking institution that you trust, and you feel comfortable with, and have them advocate on your behalf, and possibly get a guardian ad litem. Because when it all comes down to it, if it's that type of money, and we deal with this with car wrecks, right? When we have car wrecks where fathers or mothers die, and there's another parent and the children, we submit guardian ad litems. We get an agreement with the other party. That guardian ad litem is put in place. They then interview several banks, get that banking institution lined up, create a trust that will benefit the child, then set the dates in which that child receives that money. In some cases, the child might receive a lump sum when they turn 18. They might receive another amount when they turn 21, and they might even receive another amount later on. But you try to structure it based on what you know about the children. And it's mainly geared toward keeping the parents out of the child's future, right? Because there were laws passed, I think it was in the 80s. Who was that from Different Strokes?
Emmanuel Lewis?
Emmanuel Lewis, Emmanuel Lewis too, right? There were situations in which child stars, their parents were spending all their money. And then then they turned 18 and decided they wanted independence and went to their bank accounts and they were empty. So courts started setting up these protections to protect these kids' money from their parents, right? And so the same situation would happen then. You just want someone who you can work with, who understands both your culture, because if I'm Hispanic and I have a daughter and they turn 16, they become of age, that's traditionally something that is really celebrated, and a lot of money goes into it, almost as much as like a wedding. Right. And if you don't have anyone who understands the Latino community and understand how that works and how important that is to that child, then you run the risk of bumping heads. And so you want someone who understands
Real life.